Welcome. It's 7-Eleven Daily Summary with Bruce Scholl. So excited to be here. What an amazing time. Are you on the edge of your seat yet? What an extraordinary time to be alive. God bless you all. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure to share this out and get some more eyeballs on this information. I appreciate you being here. It has been a few days. I apologize for not being here as much as I have, because obviously my focus right now is focusing on getting signatures on the petition, and that is my focus. So, um, obviously the podcast may have to take a back seat once in a while. So I will apologize in advance for that, but I do appreciate you being here. I have an extraordinary guest and an extraordinary opportunity to talk about Alberta and some of the incidents, some of the players, some of the big players in the scene. So we're going to talk about that tonight with Marco Navarro-Genie. I am so excited to have him back. He always has this cut through perspective, that really sort of hits the bone, and I do appreciate him being here. The former professor, I call him Professor Marco. I don't know if you appreciate that today, but we'll look forward to having him on. I'll tell you a funny story, because it was funny because when I first reached out to Marco, I think it was something that he said. He was a recovering academic, and I thought that's my guy. That's the guy that we've got to have on board for taking this province and rectifying what's happening in Canada. So anyway, that was the first time that I reached out to him, and we've been good friends, and I have him on here on a regular basis when he can fit me in. So, but we're going to get down to unscrewing some news. We're going to get to you know what, I got to say something else that's been on my mind in the last little while. So I think we're done pussyfooting around. Are you guys done? We got to get serious about taking our province and making it right for our children and our children's children moving forward. I am done pretending to be Mr. Nice Guy. I'm done saying the right things at the right, in front of the right people. This is go time. We've got to take our province back. So I need you to get serious. Well, I'm hoping that you'll get serious along with me. Is that we have to move from lackadaisical to sharpening our tools, and I mean that metaphorically, obviously. But let's get to it here. I'm coming to you from the heart of the battle-ready nation of Alberta, when we bring you truth and optimism, and our goal is to break free from the media and the globalist mind control. It is March 2nd, if you can believe it, March 2nd, 2026. This is episode number 268 of the Daily Summary with Bruce Scholl. And I have Marco Navarro-Genie. Alberta must leave is what I decided to call this. Alberta must leave. We have got to make our way. We've got to, throw the bow lines off, and we have got to make our way as a nation. The more stuff that comes out, in case you haven't been paying attention, more and more stuff. One of the reasons that I'm excited to have Marco here is that there's so much going on. And, if you haven't woken to the need to get out of this sinking ship called Canada yet, well, hopefully tonight we'll set that straight for you. So I want to welcome Marco to the show. Hang on one second here. I've got something that I want to say, just to give Marco a little bit of an intro. Marco Navarro-Genie, a Nicaraguan refugee turned Albertan think tank researcher and recovering academic. There we are. Champions provincial autonomy through referendums on separation and immigration, while critiquing federal overreach and the Laurentian condescension toward Alberta. I want to welcome my friend Marco Navarro-Genie. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is a pleasure to have you on, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Always good to have you. Like I say, you really cut through and give us a lesson some of the things, some of the finer points in Alberta and this opportunity that we've got in front of us. So thanks for bringing your expertise, sir.
My pleasure.
All right. We're going to get into it, obviously, because, as I said, there's so much going on. We have a number of things that I want to talk about, and I'm going to bring this up here just so we have kind of a dartboard to look at and, give us a couple of targets. This is your Hultane Institute. This is your Substack. And right here, this is a couple of things that I'd love to get into. Thomas Lukazik, the government programs make Canada Canadian, and universities in general. We can also talk about EB, right? I mean, there's so much going on in this breakaway province or Chinese province of BC. Let's start though, and you mentioned that this is maybe something that we should talk about. Was Danielle Smith and the referendum that she's almost called, or she's put it out there that we've got these 9 questions for a referendum coming up. Do you want to start there by talking about this? Maybe. Okay.
Sure.
So, do you want to set the stage as far as what you saw with our premier and these 9 referendum questions, and then we'll fire away from there?
Sure. Premier Smith made an announcement last week that there's going to be a referendum in October in Alberta, and she outlined 9 questions that Albertans will have to answer. Some of the questions are policy, and some are constitutional, and both of which are basically making the heads of a few people around the country, especially in Laurentian Canada, explode. But one of them has to do with immigration. Now, let me just start by saying that immigration under the Constitution of this country is a shared responsibility. Many people think, for example, and I've heard them many a time say that if Alberta separates, who's going to pay for education and who's going to pay for healthcare? Well, Alberta will, because it's Alberta jurisdiction. Albertans are right now paying for those, and the federal government sends a few bucks about this and that, but really is Alberta's funding, and so it kind of shocks me, and not really, to know that there are people who think that that whatever she is trying to do regarding immigration is out of bounds, so to speak.
Right.
So let me begin by saying that it is a shared responsibility under the Constitution of this country, and since 1991, for example, the province of Quebec has essentially seized the reins of immigration as a shared responsibility under the Constitution with the government of Canada. And so when it comes to immigration, that is to say, immigrants coming into Quebec, the government of Quebec has a say. In fact, it has the say, which is then communicated to Ottawa, and Ottawa kind of rubber stamps it. But the choice is Quebec's, and so under that framework. And in that spirit is what our premier is proposing. And so there's nothing radical, there's nothing alien, there's nothing revolutionary about what she's proposing. She's proposing that Alberta takes its shared responsibility under the Constitution, and therefore it is perfectly constitutional.
Can I ask you a question about that before you move on? So you're saying, and I just want to summarize this a little bit for myself and for our viewers. So you're saying that Quebec is not racist because they actually want to control their immigration. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's right. I mean, Quebecers might be racist, but that's not the reason why.
But the policy's not racist, right?
Right. Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
and nor should it be for the backwood rednecks of Alberta. I mean,
that's
there
right.
might be racists here too, but the policy from Danielle Smith is certainly not racist.
No, no. But the interesting thing is, as you know, Quebecers have been trying to break away from this country for a couple of generations now.
Hmm.
And their attempt at leaving the federation has never been called racist,
Right.
right? But somehow um, this is a slur now that goes back a long way. When I first came to Canada, as a refugee, I landed in Montreal. And I lived in Montreal for many years. And before coming to Alberta, I was kind of worried about actually when I was coming to Alberta to
Oh,
study
is that right?
in grad school. Yeah, because if you believed the Central Canadian media, this place was basically run uh, by um, by white supremacists,
Yes.
right? And I initially came across
Yeah.
the notion because in 1987, 88, this guy named Preston Manning had founded this reform movement, and the general consensus, false as it was, of course, in the Laurentian press, was that Manning was a racist and that this was a neo-Nazi sort of movement. So it should not surprise anyone
Yeah.
that this keeps coming up because remember, the truckers were racist, right?
Right. Right.
And the anti-vaxxers were racist, and so it's such a facile, such a dumb thing that to say because it's the only thing that they can come up. It seems it illustrates such lack of imagination,
Mm.
not to say lack of intelligence, to continuously keep calling people they disagree with, namely Westerners, but specifically here Albertans, that they are racist. And so they have managed now to come out and say that these proposals
Yeah.
that the premier is making are racist. And let's make no mistake about it. By calling Danielle Smith a racist, considering that she is, of course, the leader, the political leader of this province, and that she didn't come and sit on that chair by the grace of God, she was elected uh, by the by the citizens of this province to say, therefore, that she is racist and all the other things that they keep saying about her is also, by extension, a slur against the people of this province.
Of course it
Uh,
is.
and, and, and we should take that personal to some extent, but we should also take it serious. At the same time, it's easy to dismiss because there is absolutely no substance to the idea. And so I am used to people in Laurentian Canada saying those things. What I'm not used to is people in Alberta saying the same things. And so that tells you where the mind of the people who are accusing the premier of being racist is.
Mm.
Witness Thomas Wukaszek, right, the former deputy premier
Yeah.
of what I consider to be the most corrupt government in the province, in the history of the province, right? The government of Alison Redford. She got chased out, of course, because it was a corrupt government, and
Yes.
he himself was mired in some controversy about roaming charges on his personal telephone. While he was on a personal vacation in Israel, he racked up a bill of over $20,000.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Yeah.
so we're not talking about the guy with the most integrity when it comes to that, considering of course that he was part of that government that spends money that like drunken sailors. Uh, but what is interesting about him, therefore, is that he seems to be reading out of a playbook that comes from outside the province, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that he tried to sort of compare uh, Danielle Smith to Donald Trump, because in his mind, that's a horrible sin. And then then so he compares Trump to Smith, and then he goes on to say that Trump is a Nazi, which is an outrageous thing to say because what he's basically saying is that Danielle Smith is using Nazi tactics, um, which in and of itself is not just offensive at a kind of ungentlemanly level, but it's also offensive historically because the phenomenon of the Nazis and the persecution of the Jews is so unique in the world that it hardly stands being compared to anything else. But that does not stop Mr. Wukasik. He goes on to say that populists, because Danielle Smith is a populist and Trump is a populist. I think he's got that right. That the populists look for scapegoats, and that Hitler had the Jews, he said, and that Trump has the Latinos. And by extension, he does not say it, but Smith is now picking on the immigrants, whom he see, by the way, as being somehow vulnerable. It doesn't occur to him that many immigrants are very wealthy, and come to Canada, um,
Right.
having grown up where they grew up with silver spoons, for example.
Right. Right.
Uh, and uh, and he extends the condescension that the immigrants, he says, are the people who are serving you coffee at Tim Hortons,
I
uh,
remember
uh,
that. Yeah.
right? And so he's got this idea that all immigrants are these poor little people, but also he has to step up and save them. But let me jump back to the Latino part because I'm Latin American and I know a thing or two about Latinos, and certainly I watch what the Latino community, if a community it is, does in the United States because I find that interesting. And so he compares the Jews in Germany to the Latinos in the United States, right?
Yes.
Um, and which is an outlandish thing to say about Latin Americans in the United States. So I went and I looked this up because all this information is easily available. Uh, of the congressmen in the United States, 61 of them are members of Congress. So
Hmm.
61 members of Congress are Latin Americans or Latinos. Six people in the Senate have Latin American um, culture or descendants, and they spread across all political parties, not just the Trump party.
Hmm.
84 uh, judges in the United States at the federal level on the federal bench are Latinos, which is about 8% of all of them, which is not quite close to representation, but pretty good. There are over 15,000 servicemen in the armed forces in the United States. So, I mean, for a people who are being persecuted like the
Yes.
Nazis were in the 30s, that's
Or
a
the Jews. Yeah.
remarkable
Yeah.
level of representation. Yeah, sorry, like the Jews, yes.
Hmm.
That's a remarkable level of representation. But of course, they're even in cabinet and so forth. This Secretary of State, which is one of the most powerful positions in the cabinet today, is a guy whose parents were born in Cuba. And I think he may have been born in Cuba, actually. But I think his parents left and then he was born in the United States. I don't remember. Marco Rubio is,
Yes.
is, is the
Michael
guy.
Rubin. Mhm.
So he's at the very least of Cuban extraction if he wasn't born in Cuba. Uh, so so to compare what happened to Jews and the atrocities, I don't need to explain it to you and the listeners, right? That there are no concentration camps rounding up Latinos in the United States, that there's no attempt to exterminate them in any way, shape, or form, or exclude them from office or power or even society, that they are citizens just like everybody else. The ones that are citizens and the ones that are not citizens, but they're not being persecuted in the way that Tom Bukashuk suggests. So it's so over the top that the cartoon that he's painting reflects on him, right?
Mhm.
He is essentially the cartoon and not the cartoon that he's painting in front of people because he's such an outright lie. So by trying to essentially um, besmirch our premier, he is in fact made himself more of a clown, and that's something
That's
he's gonna have to wear.
well, that's really interesting when you were explaining how the lines draw between these two comparisons that he's making or trying to draw a line to our premier. Yeah, it reminded me that Thomas Lukaszuk is more like the Nazi Party, like Joseph Goebbels, who's actually using the propaganda technique of drawing the lines so that you can label, the parties that you want to discredit, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to use the same comparison because I'm just criticizing him for doing that.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
mean,
but but
yeah,
but but
Joseph
but but
Goebbels
but what you're
is a
pointing out, and I don't
yeah,
mean to say that that's what you're doing, is where what you're saying is that the Nazis were masterful liars,
masterful.
uh, just like Lukaszuk is doing in this case. So anyway, so. Um, and that in doing so, really, he is basically doing someone else's bidding. People outside this province in Laurentian, Canada,
Yeah.
who are interested, it seems to me, in perpetuating some of them this idea that we're all a bunch of redneck racist hicks out here.
Well,
Right?
there's so much that you talked about, but it's very interesting that that Thomas Lukaszuk. I mean, they're projecting. They're always projecting. We see it in Nenshi as well. I mean, he's the one-legged politician now. The he's a leader of the NDP today, and like I mentioned to you before, uh, there's there is talk that he might not be in the leadership role of the NDP much longer.
Speaking of leadership of the NDP,
Yeah.
the former leader of the NDP, Rachel Notley, also former premier of this province, said exactly the same thing, the same comparison about the Nazis and Premier Smith,
Of course she did.
which is also equally outrageous from a woman to another, from a former premier to a premier, from at so many levels. It is so beneath the office that she used to have to make those kinds of statements.
Mm. It's interesting though. I mean, the media play into it as well. I mean, we see it. Um, they're not discrediting when somebody like Lukaszuk or a Rachel Notley are using those inflammatory uh, uh, the rhetoric, I guess that they're using. They're not downplaying that and saying that was a poor choice of words like you are. They're more than likely pouring gasoline on the fire to try and fan the flames. Don't you see that?
Oh yeah, Lukaszuk was interviewed by a loony podcaster from Ottawa, and just to reassert his position as the guy who knows best and he's educating us, he said
Yes.
that he hoped that he offended her because that the offense, the offense supposedly in his mind was going to bring the premier to reflect on the truth of the matter, right?
Mm, mm.
That's also laughable because if you're going to make yourself an authority and use historical parallels, get them right.
But we're also seeing it in a number of different ways, Marco. I mean, the recall petitions for the MLAs. We saw how many was it? 10? Was it 10 different recall petitions that people were trying to get them recalled? And I mean, it was definitely a union NDP fueled recall that was trying to dismantle the UCP party. Do you remember how many there were?
Not off the top of my head, but I think it's in the 20s actually.
Oh gosh.
And so it's worth pondering how they come about because if you remember, all these things got spun right after the teacher strike because the
Right.
ATA and the NDP are basically two sides of the same coin. Um, and uh, and so the ATA, by the way, is the Alberta Teachers Association for those who don't know. The ATA, of course, went on strike. The teachers went on strike, and they got legislated back to work with the use of the notwithstanding clause. So they were absolutely beside themselves that A, they were legislated back, and B, that there was no possibility to contest the order in court, because otherwise they would have tied it up in court until the proverbial bovines came home,
Yeah.
and so they lost that one, and and because they were so sore, they started doing two things while they were during the strike. They started a petition to defund all the independent schools in
Right.
Alberta.
Yes. Yes.
And that one they lost, and they lost it pretty badly, in spite of the fact that they had a tremendous campaign backed by the Alberta teachers, and it was filled with lies and misinformation, telling people that kids who go uh, to independent schools draw more resources than the regular kids in school, which is a lie.
Right.
Kids who go to independent schools only receive, on a per capita level, 70% of the allocation that the same children would receive in a public school. So basically, the Alberta taxpayer is saving 30% right there per child. The other one, of course, is that they were telling people that these independent schools are drawing resources away from the regular schools.
Right. Getting more
Uh,
money than
yeah, and,
yeah.
and and making it harder for the real schools, right? And so it was a bunch of nonsense, and they lost that one, right? So that's two. And then right after they lose the strike, they start these recall petitions of mostly there was one recall petition, I think, for a back a retaliatory petition to try to
Yes.
recall one NDPer, but the rest were all UCP members of the government. The first one was the Minister of Education, and
Education,
then
yes.
it sort of rippled from there. And I think about 11, which is probably where you get the number, or 12 or so, have now come to a close because the timing expired, and they did not gather the appropriate number of signatures that they need to have people initiate a recall process. And the other ones are still pending, but by and large, they're all flopping, and they're flopping badly. So that brings us to, what does that mean, right? Um, that this is essentially a small minority of radical members of the opposition, namely NDPers and leftists, that are trying to disrupt and destabilize the government by bringing down, supposedly, this is what they wanted to do, create so much chaos by recalling these members of the legislature, and then basically bringing the government down. This is all happening in their minds. Um, but of course, Albertans are more sensible than that and recognize that this is a political weapon, and most Albertans don't like to be used as political tools or somebody else's tools, and are turning these petitions down in in serious ways. And
Oh,
so
I've
this
got it right here.
undermines.
Do you mind if I interrupt just for a
No,
second?
no, please
Yeah,
go ahead.
I've got it pulled up here. Demetrios Nicolaides. This is the first one, and they needed 16,000. So you can see it right here, 16,006 six signatures to recall him, and they got this number right here, 6,519. So it was not successful. The next one was Angela Pitt, and I won't go through all of them, but they needed 14,813, and I think that she is an excellent MLA as well, and they only got 2,358. So failure, massive failures in regard to that recall petition. So going forward, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. That is very valuable data to present, and it's pretty much. I mean, there are variations in some places, but it's it's very similar across the board. That Albertans didn't go for the gimmick, and of course, this is considering that this was also an NDP endorsed thing, a total failure of the opposition. So look at it from the perspective of the NDP now, right? People inside the party who may have been told by their leader that this was the strategy to pursue, and that they were so gun ho on it that they were going to bring the government down.
Mhm.
Well, now, the proverbial chicks have hatched, or not rather, and so uh, the credibility of their leader is on the line.
Mhm.
His strategic thinking is on the line. Remember, he's an academic, right? He cooks up these things in his mind and thinks they're reality. And so this utter failure of this strategy has essentially undermined his credibility significantly. Not once, not once, but on three different levels. And
Yes.
the third one, because there are 20 some recall petitions over and over again. The bad news gets worse because as they continue to fail, because they were not all filed at the same time, as they all keep coming due date by date by date in the next few weeks, it will remind NDPers and it will remind the public in Alberta that the continued failure of the attempt at destabilizing the government.
Not only that, here's number 4 on that. If you haven't already thought about that, Marco, but it cost millions of dollars to do each one of these recall petitions for each of the MLAs. It cost Albertans, the taxpayers, it cost them millions of dollars to do a recall petition.
Yeah, yeah, and it would have cost even more to actually engage in the recall process, because eventually, what that means to have them recalled is that
Yeah,
the MLA gets punted,
they
right?
have to have a
And then
by-election.
there has to be by-elections. So Albertans could see that a mile away.
Well, we're not dumb rednecks, Marco. I mean,
No, the NDPers might think that we are, but we're not.
the NDP and Thomas Lukaszik's and the Laurentians for sure, because they keep wanting to hang a label around our necks.
Yeah, and it's not just NDPers, by the way. I mean,
Yeah.
it's broader than that. I refer to them as progressives, right? And if you look at somebody like Bukashek, who um, speaks like an NDPer, and if he talks and walks like an NDPer, it must be one. But he's not, right? He's a former member of a conservative government in the
Right.
province, and he's a
Well,
former minister of the crown, right? But he's a radical progressive.
it's scary to say that he was a conservative, honestly. But I mean, we're not really shocked by the conservatives in the world at this point, anyway. I mean, they failed us in many instances. All right, I want to go on to another failure, but sort of the background of what the heck is going on in failed recalls, as well as well, definitely the union backing on a lot of these uprisings, and we can see it here in this image that Mr. Gil McGowan is resistance rallies. It looks like the unions and Gil McGowan are organizing resistance rallies to fight back against the UCP government. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch this. I painstakingly did it for you guys. I watched about 30 seconds of this, and then I had to bail because it was too painful. But I mean, I I can't see anybody sitting here. He's actually got people in front of him in the audience, and they had to be paid uh, a a reasonable sum to stand here and listen to this guy drone on about somewhat of nothing. And do you want to hear this for a second, Marco?
Sure, sure.
Okay, the sound doesn't seem like it's very good, but we're going to
But
play it
no
anyway.
more than 30 seconds, right? Because
No, I
if
don't
you
want to hurt anybody.
if you want us to remain friends.
Hang on one second.
So while we respect the role
Oh,
of
there are
the
people there.
opposition in the legislature, we're
Free
going to help
T-shirts.
them by mobilizing citizens outside of the legislature because this province is ours.
Can you hear that all?
Yep.
The goal here is to take it back. Actually, right? So we actually we had our convention in April, and at that convention we passed a number of resolutions unanimously. So we had one resolution that said that we would do everything, anything and everything we could to fight the push to separate. So
Sorry, I went to 41 seconds. I apologize. You only had to
Oh,
listen to about 35 seconds of it because I had it off. But
well,
and
you're reminding me of somebody. It immediately made me think of Charlie Angus. I don't know if you know
remind me who he is
Charlie
again.
Angus was until recently a member of parliament from for the Neo Democrats. He's from Northern Ontario
I do
somewhere,
remember him. Yes.
and he ran for the leadership of the NDP, and the NDP didn't even look at him because he's a white guy,
Right.
and they favored the brownish guy with the
Right.
turban. Um, and Angus is not the smartest guy in the world, but I dare to say that if we had to compare the their efficacy and abilities, I think Angus is more able than Singh. But I digress. Angus resigned from his seat in the House, and he immediately does what grifters tend to do, which is he went on a tour called the Elbows Up Resistance tour.
No, he didn't.
Oh yeah, you can look it up, and here's, I mean, calling somebody a grifter is not a nice thing, and I don't say this lightly. Um, the the um, the Elbows Up Resistance Tour. Um, we should Google it, just for fun.
I'm going to try it.
Uh,
I'm going to do it
they,
right now.
they had a schedule, right? Like a superstar tour. And Mr. Angus is also a musician. I think he plays guitar or used to play guitar in a band. So he thinks he's Mick Jagger or something. And there were one, if not two, installments of the Elbows Up Resistance Tour. You're sitting down, right?
Yeah, I'm
In
sitting
in
down.
in Mexico City.
No.
I kid you not, right?
Does
And
this look like
so,
it?
yes, that is it. So he must have, some connections down in Mexico. Hopefully not with the cartels. And yeah, he had an elbows up session in Mexico City.
Oh my gosh.
And of course there is a charge for people to come, and resistance to what? These people have been in power through the extension of the Justin Trudeau uh, government, right? For a decade. They are in power in BC. They are in power in so many different places. They were in power in Alberta for a little while, and so they want to paint themselves. They do this very well, right? They're experienced
Oh my
at
gosh.
painting themselves as the victims.
They
And yeah, so the Elbows Up tour, organized by, they talk about resistance. And if you look at his Substack, I think it's called The Resistance.
really.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
So
that.
it makes me laugh. Oh, there you go. Ottawa, Toronto. I don't know if you can find the Mexico City one.
No, there's
Uh,
only Ottawa, Toronto, Halifax, and Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay, well, and maybe they tried to do one in Mexico City.
Oh yeah,
They advertised it, and
that could
maybe they
be.
didn't sell enough tickets,
Yeah.
which is probably what happened. And if that is the case, they're not going to advertise it, right?
The Mexicans weren't interested, and the Canadians that were there weren't really for elbows up. Maybe they were just there for the Coronas. I don't know, the cervezas.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I mean, why, if you were in Mexico and you were Canadian, why would you go to one of these things? Regardless of whether you were like strongly ideologically affiliated to them. If you're in Mexico either in business, and so you have business, and most likely there you're busy doing that, or you want to be on the beach and you want to be having fun to go into museums and beaches and archaeological sites and all sorts of things. The last person I would want to see if I am in Mexico City is Charlie Angus.
Yeah,
But so
absolutely.
that tells you something about the narcissistic exercise too, right?
All right, I'm gonna go for a little bit of laughter here for a second. So a little bit of jovialness. 1 second. So I'm gonna switch up, and we're gonna play this just for fun. This is from RPN Entertainment. The 9 liberals accused of cozying up to China just dropped their new collab, Runway to the CCP, coming to a catwalk and a security briefing near you. Let's play this out here. Can you hear that?
No.
Oh, I just lost it here. Hang on 1 second. Oh, that's terrible. I lost
Lost
sound
the audio.
to play this, but you have to play this when you guys get a chance to see it. So I'm going to play it without music, but it loses about 50% of its efficacy. So stand by.
Miss Freeland has lost weight.
Yeah, it looks good there.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh, comedy relief there. All right, Marco. There's so much that I want to talk about. We're nearing the end of our time, but Alberta independence. Really, this is all the things that we're talking about. To me, and more than likely to you, are leading to evidence why we need to be exiting this. I continue to call it an abusive relationship, or jumping off the side of the Titanic before it goes down. Um, is there anything else you want to say? There's one other thing that I want to bring up. Hang on 1 second here. I'm going to look for it. One moment. There was one other thing that was top of my mind, and now it's escaped me. Oh, I know. It was about Vancouver, and I'm gonna bring it up here because I just bookmarked it. One moment, and it was about the Canadian government now making a deal with the which band was it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Um,
You know what? I'm gonna play this. You know what? Oh no, I don't have the audio. Shoot. Stand by.
yes, I think I know which one you mean. They just signed off a chunk of land.
Yeah, for Vancouver.
Yeah, I saw the headline, but I haven't read it entirely, so I'm not as up to on it as I should be.
Okay, I'm going to pull up this is actually the government of Canada,
There it is. Yeah.
right from the government of Canada. This map, I don't know if it's necessarily from the government of Canada, so don't quote me on that. But they have now signed historical agreements with Musqueam. I believe that's the name of the band. And so this is the territory that they have. And of course, they're saying that it's about reconciliation and they're just framing this for future. But the agreements, rights including title within their traditional territory, and establishes a framework for incremental implementation of rights nation to nation. I know they're saying that it's not necessarily giving them title, but we've seen what's happened, and I'm sure that you can speak to this in Richmond. We've seen what's happened to that area, reducing land values, reducing home prices. Insurance insurance companies aren't insuring homes because they don't believe that there's any value there anymore. I don't know if you want to speak to that because maybe you don't understand this well enough yet, but
I don't know very much about this one,
Yeah.
but I know what the Cowichan case
Right.
is doing, right?
Mhm.
Which basically grants rights of land to an Aboriginal band in the Lower Mainland, and says that people who have built homes in this area, and businesses, not just homes,
Yes.
have basically built homes on someone else's land, right? And so that this will need to be worked out. So your house is your house. You own the building, but you do not own the land, even though you thought you did,
Yes.
on which your house rests. And so you can imagine what that does to the price of your house, and by extension, not just to the area that is contested in the Cowichan case, but also the adjacent land in the vicinity and the whole province, if this is a precedent of some sort. And we have seen several different people, I think 3 or 4 now, have come forward and said that they were having trouble getting a bank to renew their mortgages
Right.
because there is a complete uncertainty about whose land it is and what exactly will be the price of the land, considering that you're kind of being held hostage because your house, which is yours and it has value, uh, is now sitting on somebody else's land.
And it's like building a house on sand. It's unstable.
Absolutely.
And of course, banks and mortgage lenders aren't going to lend on something that they don't believe may not have a value down the road. And so this is I think it's a house of cards that they've pulled the card out. And any of the viewers that are on here have probably already seen this. I did a small article about it on yournews.com, but it really is something that they slipped in. There's no CBC, there's no CTV, there's no global news coverage of this event, and this happened on February 20th, and we just saw it come out on, I think it was the 28th when it sort of broke that we were talking about it. But
Yeah, and you can see how this is being built up as precedent, right?
yes,
In the original case, in the previous case, the Cowichan case, um, one cannot blame perhaps the Aboriginals for wanting to launch all these land claims. That's fine, but the government of BC willingly did not present arguments against their claim.
mhm.
In other words, the judge had no other information to consider but what they had heard from the Aboriginals,
Wow,
right? And
wow,
that's how the Cowichan case got decided. The
mm,
judge had absolutely no choice
right.
to reach the conclusion that she did because the whole thing was unopposed by the provincial government.
The representatives of the people, the vast majority of people in BC had no voice. Is essentially what happened.
That's right. Yeah, the government of BC, whose job it is to represent the people of British Columbia, basically vacated.
Mm, my goodness. Okay, so again, I'm going back to this. This is all leading me and many other people in Alberta to realize and to recognize that the curtain is being drawn, and we're starting to see, what's behind the curtain. And I've seen this for a long time, and I'm sure that you probably have because you were a recovering academic. I know a number of years ago already, but you've been talking about it through the Hultane Institute and through your good work on Substack for a long time. So anyway, it's all coming around to the reason that we need to make Alberta a nation, and to move forward with that. Marco, do you have anything else to say about that?
No, I think that's right. People who are considering and asking themselves a question about the place of Alberta in this federation will look at this and say, "Yeah, we're right. We should get the heck out of here." Right?
Not only is the price of our groceries going up, the taxes on our gas, the taxes on our property continue to skyrocket. It seems like. I mean, it seems like every month I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to, I can't make any more money. I'm not going to get a raise here now for the next little while. I've got to make ends meet, and I know I'm not the only person that's doing that. And anyway, I just know that there's a better way, and I appreciate everybody. You've got to get out there and sign the petition if you haven't done it yet. There is a chance, and I don't know if you heard this, Marco, but I heard there's a chance that the some of the Indigenous bands in Alberta may be launching some sort of a case or a lawsuit against the petition or the referendum that we're hoping to go for, to stall it or to make it to stop us from petitioning further. I don't know if you
Yeah,
heard that.
there's been chat about that for quite a while. I'm not surprised to hear it. Um, you know, this is a liberal democracy, and I believe that the liberal democracy in this country is exhibits one of its most robust expressions in Alberta.
Mhm.
And so people are allowed to dissent, and people will have different opinions about this. The whole point, I think, maybe not the whole point, but a significant amount of this idea that there is a petition about a question that will be posed as a referendum in the province. The whole thing is for people to debate it,
Mhm.
right? We're not going to do this in the dark of night and only invite a few or whatever. These Aboriginals and Indigenous people of different communities in the province are Albertans too,
Yes.
right? And so, by all means, this is the strength of this province, that we're not afraid to debate ideas robustly.
I guess what I was encouraging is to people to get out there and sign the petition as early as possible. Don't wait until the last minute, because there are talks of having it cut off at some point. So I would encourage everybody to do it. Thank you so much, Marco. You can find Marco on your Substack. I think I've linked to it, and I brought it up here, the Haltane Institute Substack. I've got it up here. Do you want to tell everybody how to find you?
Um, sure. I mean, I am on Twitter, which is probably the easiest way to find me. There's a Holtain Institute Twitter page as well, and or at the holtainresearch.org, which is the institute's page. I encourage you to go and look at the Substack, because in about a couple of minutes, I'm releasing a commentary on 10 the 9, 10 questions that are going to be asked in the referendum. So it's a little bit of a commentary on what's coming and what it means, because many of the things that you're hearing in the media that it means is not what it means. And what it's going to do is not what people say it's going to do. It's going to do different things, all of which I think, again, in the spirit of democratic debate, they're pretty exciting.
Very exciting. I love that take. I love that perspective, because you're right. You're 100% right. Even though, as a petitioner, as a canvasser, if you're out there and you're getting insults thrown at you, that's okay. It's totally fine. I mean, that's why we are living in this free country, and freer country to come,
Yeah.
Alberta, is that we do have opposing voices, and that's okay. And it's really important that we're able to coexist, and to share our ideas, even if we are opposed by somebody else. So you're 100% right. You're still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. Yeah.
All
Sorry.
right. I've got Marco's X profile pulled up here. If anybody's interested, you can reach out to him. His Substack is linked right here on the page. You can see it. But Marco, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time.
It's always a pleasure, Bruce. Thank you very much.
God bless you. All right, everybody, if you're still watching, I appreciate you being here. God bless you. Make sure to get out there and do your best to take our province to the next level, and share this out to your social media, your friends, your family. Get more eyeballs on this information. And as I always say, let's stay sane together. Keep your head on a swivel. And this is Bruce, and I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching Unscrew the News. I appreciate your participation in freedom in Canada. Share this information and help others to wake up. God bless.